With the recent announcement of the TurboGrafx 16 Mini, it brings us back to a question I once answered. Are mini consoles the new emulation? Now, I want to turn our attention back to the new, interesting, and developing world of mini consoles as we answer a new problem. Are the mini consoles worth the amount of money companies are asking for? Hello everyone, and welcome back to BGA TV HD, the show where we do gaming commentaries every other day. And on today's episode, we'll be discussing if mini consoles are a serious waste of money, or if they can actually be worth the money. The only mini console I've played on is the PlayStation Classic. In its base form, it doesn't have many games, and its price is terrible when you consider what you get from the package. 20 games for the price of $100. Sure, these are 5th gen games, but still, only 20, and some of these do feel like filth. This is also a problem I had with the NES Classic, but when compared to the Nintendo Switch Online service, that mini console looked like a great deal. With what I'm calling the second phase of mini consoles, which includes the Sega Genesis Mini and the TurboGrafx 16 Mini, it looks like we might finally be getting an evolution of the deal-breaking game selection of the first generation, the NES, SNES, and PlayStation Classic. First, let's take a look at the Sega Genesis Mini. The console is priced at $80, with the current lowest tied with the NES Classic. It has 40 games, the most of any mini console so far, and I've heard across the board the quality of those 40 games is higher than the other minis so far. In the utility department, there's the actual console itself, 2 wired controllers, the power cable, the USB adapter, and the HDMI cable. Now for the games on the Sega Genesis Classic. We have Echo the Dolphin, Castlevania Bloodlines, Space Harrier 2, Shining Force, Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, Toe Jam and Earl, Comic Zone, Sonic the Hedgehog, Altered Beast, Gunstar Heroes, Earthworm Jim, Castle of Illusion, Shinobi 3, Contra Hard Corps, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, World of Illusion, Thunder Force 3, Super Fantasy Zone, Streets of Rage 2, Landstalkers, Beyond Oasis, Ghosts and Ghouls, Alex Kidd, Golden Axe, Phantasy Star 4, Street Fighter 2, Mega Man The Wily Wars, Sonic Spinball, Vector Man and Wonder Boy in Monster World. Sites say that all the games on the system haven't been announced yet, so you can possibly look forward to even more than what I just listed off. Compared to any mini console from the previous generation, this is an amazing selection. The most games on one until now has been 30, and that was the NES Classic, and let's face it, NES games don't offer too much replayability. Of course, this is Sega, and they usually let gamers emulate their games and don't shut them down like another game company we all seem to love. Nintendo is the only game company so far that's been shutting down emulation sites, so they really have to step up their game when they do their next mini console if they are to kind of like replace the emulation market that they're continuously destroying. Moving on to the TurboGrafx 16 Classic. Now, remember, this was just announced at this year's E3, so most of the games hopefully haven't been announced yet. Then again, they could be cocky and just think that everyone will simply buy their console because of nostalgia, which might be a factor anyway. This was a huge factor with the other mini consoles as well, but it just depends on the normal base value of the console in the first place to tell how much they depended on older gamers remembering their childhood for that sweet, sweet cash money. Now, are these mini consoles viable? If you watched my last video on mini consoles, you'll know that one of my main criticisms was the lack of games, and the quality of the games included. More talking about the Genesis Classic, that had an incredible amount of games, and it's not even an 8-bit console. with the NES Classic, Nintendo could put 30 on and act like it was a better deal, but in actuality, it was about the same as 20 games on the SNES Classic because that had more high-quality games because of the upgrade in graphics and length of the games, replayability, all that. Almost the same with the PS Classic, although I think it needed some more games in general. Actually, all of them need more games. To bring this to conclusion, the mini-console business, I feel, is just getting started, and we have many more terrible mini-consoles that we'll see in the future, but also some good ones. All we can hope for is that other companies that want to learn from the missteps of Sony and Nintendo and see the possible success of Sega and whatever company makes the PC Engine, it's like Hudson Software, I think, and hopefully follow in their footsteps. If mini-consoles are seriously going to be the replacement for emulation the way it looks like, they need to step up their game. Possibly in the future, if Nintendo decides to release an NES Classic Deluxe, they could add more games and make a better version of their mini-console. Well, I guess that's about it for this video, guys. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe. And this is Brandon from Big McLarge Gaming, signing off. Goodbye!